Home from participating in something called the Maine House of Genius. Now, House of Genius is in a lot of cities. Portland is actually the smallest city to have one because we are that type of awesome. But it's a great opportunity for entrepreneurs to get in front of a panel of experts in a wide variety of different things with lots of different skill sets, and ask them questions that are preventing their business from growing or help them get over business obstacles they face. So what was interesting is in both situations, we had two different entrepreneurs that presented to us tonight. What it ended up coming down to is that the question they were asking was the wrong one for the answers that they actually needed to grow their business. And that made me start thinking about how often we do ask the wrong questions. And we might ask them for a variety of reasons. It could just be because we're scared. It could be because we're not thinking big enough. It could be because we've put certain constraints or limits on what we think is possible. But we end up asking the wrong questions, and if you ask the wrong questions, you're going to get the wrong solutions. So I wanted to go over 3 things that are always important to remember when you're asking yourself questions, especially when they're concerning your business, and keep them top of mind so you can sort of filter out what the right questions are and what the wrong questions are. So number 1 is to not limit yourself. Often when we ask questions, we do it within a certain frame of reference or a box that we think we need to keep ourselves within. Now, that could be because of stereotypes, because of context, because of what we feel like is expected. But when you're asking a question, really try to not take those restraints, take those limits off of yourself. Don't glass ceiling yourself with your questions. The second one is to not assume. So never assume that something is the case that isn't necessarily the case or doesn't necessarily have to be the case. So this sort of goes along with number 1, but it's a little less focused on limits and more focused on don't make assumptions about things you think you know are fact, because often they are not. So if you're having a if you're adding a qualifier into your question, make sure it is fact. Make sure it is completely analytics, metric, research-based, and you know exactly how that fact, that qualifier, fits into what your ultimate goal is. And then the final one is don't be afraid to ask questions that are going to make you ask more questions. Often we want an easy way out, so we want to ask one question that's going to give us the end-all, be-all solution. And unfortunately, business and life don't often work that smoothly. So often the right questions that you need to ask are ones that are going to cause you to ask a lot more smaller questions and really dig into the details. And that's how you form a solid strategy that's going to work and help you grow your business. So don't limit yourself. Don't assume, and be willing to ask questions that are going to make you continue to question.